In the depth of the dungeon, despair is mixed with hope, the smell of mold with the stench of dried blood. Only the screams of the dying will be able to glue you to the cruel reality. You will be fresh meat for slaughter.
Let's start by creating our locking elements. We take a piece of graphics chipboard, 6 by 4 inches, and mark the following measures with a pen. Take your time and design a template with the dimensions you see here. Don't worry, it looks much more complicated than it really is. We cut out all the half-inch squares. Once the first piece is obtained, we use it as a template for a second piece of cardboard, the same. In the end, we have to find ourselves with two identical pieces, perfectly compatible with the other elements of my Fusion tile system. Now we need the pieces of foam to create our tiles. I used a Proxon here. I know it is not a very cheap tool, but believe me, it is a life changer. In the description box below you can find a link for buying your own Proxon table. However, if you don't have a Proxon and don't plan to buy one, take a look at my tutorial number 4 to create thin slices of foam simply with a hot wire cutter. In the end, we have to create 4 slices of foam, the size of 4 by 6 inches and 7 mm thick. On each of them we go to create the 1-inch grid, and then take our time to design the floor pattern that we like best. Let's not neglect the sides and add some cracks. We use the aluminum foil technique to create the texture of the stones. Every torture chamber needs a pit to unload corpses or shreds of meat. Now let's take a compass and draw a circle with a radius of about 3/4 inch on the surface of one of our tiles. Take your time and cut the circle you got with the X-Acto knife. We now use the hole created as a template for the back of another tile. Also here, take your time and carefully cut out the foam. We must now reduce the thickness of the round piece that we have obtained. We can do it with a hot wire cutter, with a long blade cutter, or simply with sandpaper. I prefer to use the Proxon. Whatever the method used, it is sufficient to reduce the thickness by 2 or 3 mm. Once the thickness has been reduced, we must reinsert the piece of floor in its place. That's why having already created the texture of the floor can be useful as a guide to repositioning. Now we'll still use the hole of one of our tiles as a template and mark the point where the pit will be on a blocking piece. This time we have to cut out a square that is tangent to the circle. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but try anyway to do a good job. At this point we are ready for the assembly of the first tile. We put tacky glue on the cardboard, thus avoiding occluding the anchor point of the tile. If you have seen my tutorial number 78, you already know this net. It is very cheap and it has an half-inch grid. We cut out a piece that fits perfectly into the cutout we made. At this point, I recommend you to color all the parts that will be impossible to color once the tile is mounted. However, if you have an airbrush, you can skip this step. After gluing the wire mesh, we are ready to mount the upper part. Once again, use the glue only on the cardboard, keeping the anchor points perfectly clear. We are done. Now we can mount the second tile. We assemble everything in the same way. The floor of our torture chamber is ready. I'm a lazy bastard. At the beginning I thought of reusing my dungeon walls for this project. Then I decided that this piece deserved more effort. I decided to use slices of foam 7mm thick, 2 inches high and 6 inches long, less than the thickness of 2 pillars. The precise measurements do not matter. For me, the important thing is that the pillars are slightly thicker than the walls. It's easier to watch what I mean. Each wall will be composed of a slice in the back and a slice with arches in the front. As you can see now, with graphics chipboard I created a template to be used for the creation of 4 arches that we will call torture niches. I create the brick pattern. To see what my favorite technique is, take a look at my tutorial number 3. technique is always that of my dungeon walls. After assembling the walls and pillars, we add large screws for greater stability of the piece. In the end, we have to build two pieces of wall with pillar on the same side, plus a single pillar. This will offer us great modularity. Very well, we are now ready to furnish our room. This small well is part of the mold that I created in my tutorial number 68. Take a look. These skeletons have remained in my drawer for about 20 years. They are from an old edition of Warhammer Fantasy. I think the time has come to give them new life, so to speak. At first I removed the bases, then I eliminated the weapons, trying to keep them intact as much as possible for future projects. Finally I repositioned the bodies to simulate prisoners forgotten in the depth of the dungeon. For the handcuffs, I divided some rings for custom jewelry chains. Those are foam sheets, flexible, easy to work and suitable for this project. Check the description box below. Another very useful element, mini nails, very useful to fixing and giving a better look to the piece. I folded some custom jewelry items by hanging them on the wall as instruments of torture. I fixed them with a drop of superglue. The brown rubber you see is resistant to superglue. other chains and paper clips to embellish the niches and the pillar. I covered all these pieces with PVA glue to block and protect the whole piece. First, torture instrument, a rack. I use a table created in my tutorial number 32. See how I have already inserted 2 metal anklets with the same technique. With a round section stick and other pieces of costume jewelry, I created the winch, wrapping it with bundled string. To facilitate assembly, I used hot glue, then fixed everything with a few drops of super glue. I fixed the winch to the table with hot glue, completing it with 2 handcuffs tied to 2 ropes. I further embellished the rack with a metal reinforcement at one end.
The goblin came out of the darkness with an evil smile.
Please sit down. Make yourself comfortable. My master will be with you in a moment.
The basis of this small piece of furniture is my tutorial number 32. Today we are going to modify the chair built in the tutorial. You can use any chair at your disposal, but a fundamental point is that it is made of foam, or in any case, in an easily perceivable material. Anyway, without wasting any more time, we need to obtain 2 pieces of foam about 5 mm thick, and which are the same height as the seat of our chair, as you can see here. We create the wood grain, and with a thin layer of hot glue we attach one of the obtained pieces on each side. For these small pieces, tacky glue or PVA glue are better for cleaner results. But here I was in a hurry, so hot glue. Foam sheets, a fantastic material to create folded pieces. We use them for the bracelets and the anklets of our chair. This step can be a little tricky, but if you take your time and let the glue harden well every time, you will see that it is not difficult at all. Mini nails. We puncture the seat and back of our chair with as many nails as possible. We go through the wood just enough for the tips to be beautiful to look and well proportioned with the chair. We will hide the nail heads under the chair with another piece of metal, while with a tool we will cut the nail protruding on the back. We fix everything with a layer of PVA glue. And we are ready for an easy painting session. Time to color. I first covered the pieces with acrylic black paint mixed with Mod Podge and water. As usual. I wanted to keep this very simple and particularly dark to create a truly dark and oppressive general atmosphere. I use a neutral gray on the floor and on all metal parts. I gave a touch of dark brown on the floor again and on all the wooden parts and on the rope. I used a warm gray for small highlights. Then I used an off-white on skeletons and I used the silver metal on all metal parts. I gave a brown wash to define some details and for a weathering effect. A As you can see, the piece was completed by splashes and puddles of blood and a torture chair, which we will see together in the next episode. Done. Okay guys, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe this channel. Remember to support this channel through Patreon or PayPal. And yes, I think I see you all on the next episode. Till next time, happy crafting!